Morning.
Hey. Oh, hey. Whew, these can be used in court.
All mics are live.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Roll Call Room podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick. With me is the lovely, beautiful, handsome.
Wait a minute.
Wrong person.
Right.
With me is Mark the Cop. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning, my friend.
It is
doing
morning.
well. Yeah, it is morning. It's late for us, but it is morning.
Yeah.
Doing well. Yeah, just drove back. Actually, I've had two really busy days. I'm back in Ohio. Got in last night and we got hit with a shit ton of tornadic weather.
I saw that.
We did open mic live with our friend Ricardo within
He's
the
awesome.
trenches. Shout out to everybody. And as I'm sitting here in my studio, the tornado sirens are in the background.
Wow.
I felt like I was on an air raid. And then, of course, it's flashing. Of course, he's in Indiana. So he's just west of us. So, storms moved west to east. So it was funny because his studio is flashing.
Wow.
He's striking. And his tornado sirens are going off. And we had the Kelly on. And the Kelly is just south of me. And it was interesting. So we said, well, if the lights go out one of us, the other two will stay on. So the beauty of our industry is that we can remote in from anywhere. But doing well. A little tired, but I'm good.
Yeah. Well, everybody that's in that area, stay safe, especially, all of you that are out on the road. Your road dogs, I know, sucks during that weather. I've been, I remember Snowmageddon. You remember Snowmageddon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Homicide.
One?
The one in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember that only because we had a homicide that happened that day, and me and a detective were like butted car to car in the Target parking lot, and the call went out, and it came out as an active shooter, and we both kind of looked at each other, and we were like, "This is bullshit." And then we got there, and it was legit. It was legit. It was a love triangle. It was like dude shot another dude who we thought was banging his wife, and it wasn't the case. Like the guy wasn't banging his wife, so he shot and killed him for nothing.
She just gave him a blowjob.
No, well, I feel for the guy.
I know that's bad. I shouldn't be joking about that, but
I feel for the guy, but he didn't even get that. He was like in the friend zone, and
wow.
I think I told this story on the show before. It was at a bakery, and they all three of them worked at a bakery.
Oh wow!
And it was the weirdest scene, man. We got in there, and he shot her in the stomach, and her stomach was like ascending, and everybody was still making bread. Like nobody stopped. Like it was like
they
a
were
sweatshop.
Still working after the gunfight.
Yeah,
and the dead guy laying in the floor. They're still kneading the bread and.
Dead guy like next to the sink.
Oh my gosh!
Bleeding out of his head, and he shot him point blank in the head. And like me and the officer, like I'm tending to her, and he is like straddling over me and her in a posture with a long gun, like scanning because we still don't know where the shooter is.
Where's the sniper?
And
God, man.
And all like, dude, like all you do is see people. They're just fucking baking bread. And we're like, what? This is like out of the fucking Twilight Zone. And we got written up. We got written up for that.
Why?
You would think we would get a life-saving award because we saved that girl's life. The incredible leadership at my old agency wrote both of us up for rushing into the building without a stacked team, like without a like it was. And what's silly about
that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're fucking exactly right.
I just got back from my leadership school, so we need to hold people accountable. You FBI, you evildoers.
Yeah, FBI NA told me that I have to write up 5 people a year. for me to be a good leader.
I think that's more of an ICP thing. I think that's more ICP. Yeah, you know, if you're not writing at least 10 people a month up, then it puts me in mind of Captain Strobel from Band of Brothers. You know, I was watching that again the other day, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I think this is our new ICP management guide is Captain Strobel from Band of Brothers.
Yeah, you know, I see them a lot more on social media.
We need more Dick Winters, less Captain Strobel.
Yeah. Is it me or, and I don't want to take credit for this, is it me or the wellness conference that the IACP put on? Are we thinking that we had something to do with it? Like, I
would like to think so. Yeah, I hope that our loud mouths and our punch you in the face swagger has gotten through to some folks. I did see that, and you know, Nick, I had to think the same thing. I'm like, wow, we start calling people out directly, and then son of a bitch. Yeah, you know, and suddenly things are happening. This is great. So, you know, like golf applause, if I had the applause on this side of my board, I would play the sound effect, but I don't have that one.
Well, I'm waiting for somebody. I reached out. I'm waiting for somebody to send me the literature from that wellness conference. I don't want to shit on it without knowing. Right. But I did see the presenters for the conference, and yeah, I'm pretty good at predicting things. It's gonna be dog shit, so I'll just put it out there.
You're so positive, Nick.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, let's push pause. Let's they're taking a step in the right direction. So let's keep encouraging that. And if it is dog shit, then we'll say, hey, let's do a little bit better. Better yet, why don't you have Nick and I down? And we would happy to come and present. Well, but see, there you're being negative again. So let's be positive. So let's throw it out there. ICP, if you're listening, you can have the Nick and Mark show. We will come down, or I'll come down. Nick's already there, so it's not a big deal. So where was the conference at, or where was that conference at? I didn't see.
Actually, I think it was like
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was like in Texas or something.
Yeah, if I got to travel a lot, I mean, I'll come to Alexandria on my dime, but you know, if I got to travel, you're just going to cost you the hotel room there at the venue. Well, you know, I don't want to stay in the Motel 6. My hooker days are over.
If you're going to be serious about a wellness conference, IACP, where you would throw my hair back is forget about you and I appearing, which, whatever's left of it.
Well, hey, I don't want to be a part of this problem. I want to be part of the solution. So that's why I'm saying I will come and talk. So
right, and I've always said this with IACP and Blue No Help, which now has changed their name, which is bonkers to me. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. You know, I'm not going to take a fee for coming to talk to leaders, and I use that word very loosely, in law enforcement to change their perspective or clue them in as to why they're having a recruitment problem, a suicide problem, and all these other problems. I wouldn't take a fee for that. You cover my expenses for going there.
Right.
And then we can talk about the future. But when you line up for a wellness conference, a Scott Medlin and a Mike Segru, you and I, Travis Yates,
Joe Terry, gotta have Joe
Ernie
Terry
Stevens, Joe Terry, Ernie Stevens, Joe Smora. I always fuck his name up.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. When you start lining up folks like that, it lets me know that you're not afraid to go against the grain. You're not afraid to push the envelope in the sense where you're just taking these people's money, these leaders, quote unquote leaders. You're intaking all of this money, and those of you that have not listened to IACP Part 1 and IACP Part 2, shame on you, first of all, and second of all, it's very eye-opening. You know, and since that episode, we've pulled tax returns for Blue No Help. We've pulled tax returns for what's that one? Irish Blue Angel, or whatever the fuck they are.
Oh, Irish Angel. Yeah, that one pisses me off, but we'll get to that.
That one. The wellness conferences, that's another one that's a huge intake of money. When you start looking at their tax returns and you see that they're labeled as a nonprofit, but in reality they are a major profit, or the way that they're allocating their money, you can see why you don't see their stickers in every single locker room. You can see why folks like yourself and I that have been there at the edge of the bed with your service weapon,
oh yeah,
never knew anything about Blue No Help, never knew anything about any of the wellness programs that are out there, is because they don't make money. Like saving officers' lives from suicide is not a profitable business.
Right.
And it leads me right into Blue No Help, which is that it wasn't profitable enough just to service law enforcement officers. Now, for you to get all of that luscious grant money, now you need to go after firefighters. Now you need to go after dispatchers. Now you need to go after all first responders, and then rebrand yourself to First Help or First No Help or whatever the fuck you're going to call yourself.
Right.
And I think the original mission for them was good. I think that they were on a good trajectory. But I hate to burst your bubble, and I mean them, not you. Nobody's listening to you where you're not having boots on the ground folks like, Travis Yates and Scott and Mike Segru coming on and telling you what's wrong. And I told you this story back when we started the roll call room. They wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole because they said we were too controversial. We were talking too much about poor law enforcement leadership, and they needed law enforcement's leadership to buy into what they were doing so that they could get their foot in the door and go to all these agencies and all this other stuff.
Right.
You worry more about the politics side than you're not really helping the boots on the ground officer that's working midnights that's listening to this show. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, but they're bringing in boatloads of grant money. IACP,
oh yes,
millions and millions of dollars in grant money. And then they're spending, like we talked about, they're spending $50,000 on professional development for themselves. $50,000, which is just bonkers.
Yeah. And what is that exactly? You're doing professional development. So to kind of take it on the other end, I'm thankful the group is there, but I think that all these groups suffer what we call mission drift. Because, I started, this show started because you wanted a free resource for people. The Shield Within started because I quickly learned through being a fanboy of the roll call room. Talk about living the dream. And then, finding those resources, and God bless you for starting that back in 2019. I know it started out as your need to express and to get that message out there, but think about what this show has done. How many different podcasts for free have been put out there focusing on, the Captain Strobel leadership model of law enforcement, and that directly leads to police suicide. That is like with me, I used to sit out here at this house. I was alone because my wife and I were separated, thinking about what am I going to do? How am I going to kill myself today? That was the first thought of the day, Nick. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd make a cup of coffee.
I was there.
Which way do I want to fuck myself out of this world today? Do I want to hang? Do I want to shoot? Do I want to, overdose? It became, it was my day. It was kind of like my mission. And then I made it through the day without doing it. But I heard none of these services out there, and, they are not marketing directly to the officers. And I can tell you, I had to go find my resources. So I found great psychiatrists like Dr. Molly Hall here in the Dayton area. Jerry Kanapke was my therapist, and I'd even call and talk to Dr. Dave, even as friends. I felt bad about just talking, and he did. He was very good about directing me along. And then you have to just tighten up your friends group, because you never know, what is. But, getting back to, all these people that are just talking and now they're getting grant funding. So why don't I have a Blue Help sticker back here? No one's reached out. I shouldn't have to reach to you. And like anyone here that reaches out to us, send me an email. Shoot, I'll mail you a fucking sticker. If you want to slap the roll call room slap stickers on, and when people call in and or message me about the Shield Within, when I was on my comedy show, my partner with that's like, quit sending them stuff. They got to join Patreon. I'm like, fuck it, dude. It's a goddamn slap sticker. Who cares? I'll you want to listen to my show? I'll spend the 75 cents to mail you, a slap sticker because you're promoting the brand. So from the marketing end of it, it's a lose-lose. But from the fact that someone looks at that and says, hey, and I had this conversation, hey, man, I listened to your show. Man, great stuff. And then I had an officer text me and says, when you putting out another episode of the Roll Call Room? I said, wow, it's funny. It was on my trip home from Florida. And I said, we just dropped the last one. He's like, oh, great. I'll tune in. Thanks, bro. But, we're doing this show, and where am I going? I'm kind of rambling a little bit, and I apologize. But this show is unfunded. What little bit of crap we get from, and by the way, your balls will thank you later, manscaped.com. I got to throw that in.
RCR.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Promo code Roll Call Room. You can save 20%. But, we have lights, I call them light sponsors, but, we have sponsorships. But that's all part of the business end of having a podcast. That's why we always stress, hey, please like and share, because what little bit Mark and Nick have to put into this out of our pocket, that's more the message we can put out. And where I get irritated is you got these people that's like, oh, yeah, the brotherhood. But then when you actually start digging in, they're selling you the sizzle, not the steak. And that's what really just galls me, especially someone who's lived that nightmare. And, when your psychiatrist tells you, Mark, I'm really surprised you're alive, because there's people that's been less, and we never want to compare traumas, but she says, I've had patients with less stress than what you went through with your bullshit internal affairs investigation that have actually off themselves. And I said, well, thank you, but I think that God kept me alive during my critical incident for a reason. And that reason is so I can get on this microphone with my good friend Nick and preach this message, because I think that the ministry of officer wellness is just that. We minister that message, and I borrowed that from the Chip Terry Fund, Joe Terry, and go check them out if you have some extra money laying around. They are in the trenches every day saving firefighters and law enforcement. She's got into the law enforcement end now, but they help facilitate the stellate ganglion block for people that can't afford it. I was a recipient of one of those grants, and I'd be honest with you, after I got that, I turned around and I donated the amount of the money that it took to do my treatment back to the Chip Terry Fund. Now, that's the first I've said that publicly. But, the Chip Terry Fund isn't an endless supply, but they are actually working hard to save first responders' lives. And I can tell you, after I got my stellate ganglion block, the second one, the first one, I was a mess, dude. I was a mess. Dr. David came down. We kind of, I wanted to share the story, but, on my PCL5 test, if you're over 38, you're severe. I was a 64 prior to the first jab. And then 30 days later, we went down and did it again. And then the second one was like totally life-changing. I mean, it was like pouring water on a fire. And then, of course, I backed that up with intensive 2-hour session of EMDR with my therapist. But it's really got me grounded today. So what are these? And these places are taking in hundreds of thousands of federal grant money right now.
Right. Well, they are. But the thing is like when you start deep diving into like services like Blue No Help, and you go, well, what do you exactly offer?
Right.
They don't offer specific services. They're basically a referral service. So if you reach out to them and you say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about committing suicide or I'm depressed, they refer you to somebody else. They refer you to like Copline, or they refer you to other resources. So they're more of like, they're just a referral service. But I think what they don't really tackle, or any of these places that intake money, is when folks listen to like the roll call room and they're like, well, I'm not thinking about killing myself. I'm not thinking about like taking a gun and shooting, killing myself. You and I were doing two different types of suicide. You were doing the physical kind, which was you won't, your sidearm, putting it in your mouth and putting it next to your head, blow your brains out. That's the tangible physical side. There's the implicit side that you don't even realize that you're doing until way later on, when you're actually doing self-destruction. Right. You're starting to fuck around with you're fucking around outside of, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking in general. Well, you're fucking around outside of your marriage.
It's true.
That's the
shit you do when you're in that state of mind. But go ahead.
You're fucking around outside of your marriage. You're making bad financial decisions because you're trying to destroy yourself. You don't even realize that you're doing it. Right. You're going out, you're buying stuff way outside of your means. And the thought process is, well, I'm not going to be around when that bill comes due. Right. But you are. Yes. But you are, So when you see these conferences, they don't touch that third rail. They don't talk about your personal life. They're like, they don't want to touch on that stuff. They don't want to touch on the fact that I never, ever, the decision, and I've talked about it a million times on the show, and I'll talk about it again, which is
let's do 1,000,001.
Yeah. I mean, my stresses weren't, I would leave roll call and go out on the street, and I was so stressed out by the job itself. That never bothered me. Right. Never bothered me to see dead people. Never bothered me. I mean, it bothered me, but like not to the point where, I was drinking heavily and I wanted to kill myself because I saw dead kids and tragic car accidents and all the terrible things that human beings do to each other. That wasn't the stressor. It was solely based on what happened in the White Castle. Right. In the ivory tower. And it's not changed. It's gotten 10 times worse. Been out of law enforcement. You and I have been out of law enforcement for almost the exact amount of time. And I actually think it's worse than when we were in it. You have commanders, leadership in law enforcement that has a severe identity crisis right now. They don't know what master they serve anymore. They are placating to a minority, the minority of citizenry. I don't mean minorities. I'm talking about the minority. When you take the entire group of demographic, or the entire group of citizens that you serve, you're placating to the minority of that group that don't want you to enforce drug laws. They don't want you to do DUI stops. They don't want you to do stop and frisk. They don't want you to do all of these things that over the years have helped reduce crime. And so instead of telling these folks that are the small minority of the citizenry, go fuck yourself, they're placating to them. And now you see in New York City, where they were protesting in 2020, 2021, 2022, defund the police, defund the police. Well, fuck faces. Now you got the fucking National Guard patrolling the New York City subway system. If that's not a big fuck you to how bad your crime is, I don't know what is. Like, I never in a million years would ever think that the National Guard would be patrolling inside of the New York City subway system. Well, that's a major fact.
Where they've lost sight, and statistically, the police are supported. 82% of our public support law enforcement. 82%. That's outstanding. So where these knuckleheads are what I want to say, listening to the 1 or 2% that's like, defund the police, fuck those guys. They've emboldened those people that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a swipe at these guys while they're down too. Now they have havoc in the street, and here it is. It's an election year. Oh my God, we better do something. The criminals are, the criminals are running the play, or what do I say? The inmates are running the asylum now. And nobody wants to live in an unsafe area.
Right.
Police are necessary in our society. Otherwise, the gangs are going to take over, which is happening right now. I used to jokingly say when I was working the road, "No, man, the boys in blue are the original street gang." And in many ways, that's kind of true. How business is done on the street, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. And meaning, we are on the right side of things. We're on law and order. We have the law on our side. But when you can't defund this stuff, and a lot of their examples of why the police are bad is because the fact that they've defunded other services. So the naked guy running down the street just happens to have darker skin than me. Then he picks up a machete and comes at me, and I shoot and kill him. Well, how is that portrayed? White cop shoots black man. Oh, let's go protest.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the pigment of the skin has nothing to do with it. It's the crime itself. And
but I think it's a generation too. I think it's the social media generation. You have folks that are between the ages of 18 and 26 that don't think for themselves. No, you see it in politics. You see it in, the presidential election that's about to come up. When you look, and we try not to get political, but we're going to, which is when you look at two candidates, one candidate that basically needs to eat applesauce every day and be spoon-fed.
Yeah.
And think that that's okay to run the strongest superpower in the world. We got a problem, man. I mean, we got a big problem. I don't like either one of them. I don't like either one of them, but these are the options that we have.
Right.
I know that my 401k and my stocks were worth a hell of a lot more with the last guy than they are this guy. I know that when I go grocery shopping and I leave the grocery store spending $140 and I only bought meals for 2 days, that's a fucking problem. Like
it is.
It bonkers to me, man. It's almost like it's kind of like living in the Willy Wonka world right now. It's just
we're in Bizarro world. No, we're not Willy. Really I wish it was Willy Wonka. It's Bizarro.
Yeah,
everything's upside down right now. Yeah,
and you look at the amount of vigor that they put into prosecuting Trump. And you're like, you don't even do that for people that murder kids out on the street, gangbangers. Like the Manhattan DA to file felony 34 or 36, I don't even remember. It's over 30 felony charges versus a former sitting U.S. president. And this guy's letting fucking people go. Yeah, he's letting fucking people go left and right that are murdering people that have been in and out of the judicial system for years, creating violent crime. But you got the National Guard patrolling the U.S. the New York City subway system, but you're focused on nailing a former sitting U.S. president, which is
who did everything within the confines of the Constitution. People don't realize it costs $1 million a day. It costs $1 million just to call the National Guard up. So people think about where your money's going. $1 million just to make the phone call to get them out. Now you have to pay these people every day they're there because these are volunteer soldiers. So this is their mission. So they leave their job, they go on orders. You pay them every day to be there, and you have a complete command structure. So the National Guard is not your step-in police force, but you have to refund your police. And if you don't like the way things are, vote these bastards out of office. You don't sit back and say, well, I can't do nothing about it. The hell you can. You can go to where the rallies are. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the NYPD, and I know we have a lot of listeners that are from the NYPD, and that's where my law enforcement career started.
Thank you all. God bless you. Be safe.
I feel all of you that are the hard chargers, but you can't deny the fact that they have allowed the requirements to slip so far in the NYPD for recruitment purposes that I'm more afraid of some of these newer officers than I am of the criminals that are out there.
Right.
They're not meant to be law enforcement officers. 2 years ago, they were protesting police officers, and now they're wearing a gun and a badge.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it more for ego and status and TikTok followers than they are for the actual mission as to why you and I went into law enforcement, which is the corny serve and protect.
Right.
You see these videos of some of these newer NYPD officers, and you're like, no wonder why fucking crime is so high, because they ain't stopping anybody. They're not getting in any pockets.
I don't blame them.
I don't either.
We talked about this
every
on
one
the
of them.
last. Sorry.
Yeah,
I couldn't shut my mouth.
No, you're going in the right direction. Go ahead.
If I'm getting dispatched to a shots fired call, and I show up and I don't see anything, GOA later.
It's
even
most
though the neighbor's
likely
like,
going to be another officer.
Well, but you have put these officers in the frame of mind where they're afraid to do their job. So
100%.
That shit was going through my head I should have had 8 people on the ground. I should have 8 bodies on me. And the most violent was within the last 4 or 5 years of my career, where we should have shot and killed people. And one guy damn near shot and killed. I was having a jovial conversation with him 4 days after the event, and he apologized to me for doing that. Yeah, how can he was one of my Spanish interpreters, bro? He was just having a bad day.
Yeah.
I should have shot and killed him. It would have been a legitimate shoot.
And today you'd be in jail.
Yes, there's the problem. You have to have qualified immunity for your officers. You have to support your officers. If you have politicians that somehow sneak their way in the office through shenanigans or just flat out lying to you and then their agenda, the American people need to go get involved. I loved it where who's the one there, Letitia James, that showed up, and the NYFD or FDNY showed up and started booing her, and now their toxic leadership is on a witch hunt for who was booing the attorney general. Fuck her, dude.
They better come forward. They better come. They better come. And now I read an article yesterday. They actually backtracked from that because
the backlash that they're getting.
Well, several high-powered law firms in New York City said any FDNY firefighter that is charged with anything related to booing her, they will represent for free to sue the city. Yes. And so the leadership at FDNY was like, we're not looking for anybody anymore. We're going to actually emphasize about proper decorum. You invited her. Whose fucking idea was it to invite that piece of shit?
They're all part of the blob, man. They're all part of the whole circle jerk, but down to it, does it get down to politics? Well, sure it does.
Yeah.
If you're putting that mentality in there, you people have voting rights. Get involved. The Kelly, you know what the Kelly does on voting day? She goes out and actually works the polls.
That's awesome.
POLLS, not POLES. She's not a stripper. But
automatically my head went there, and I was like,
I saw your nonverbals, man. That's why I said that. But no, she goes out and she volunteers. You have to go volunteer. I did that for many years.
Yeah.
As an observer, and of course the people working the polls were all. I'm like, look, guys, I'm just here to make sure there's nothing going on. You guys are doing your job and continue doing it. I'm here because, and I was there unpaid and volunteered to do that. So go make the changes. Get involved. Our government. It now is more critical time than ever, especially when your home safety is there. And what really hacks me off, you and I are both gun owners, right? Now you put you in a place to where how do you defend yourself without hand-to-hand combat if you take the guns away?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but to circle back to where we are right now is that poor leadership, poor direction from the department. These lieutenants, and I had said it wrong. It's Sobel, not Strobel. I had to look it up. These Captain Sobel models out there are out to get their employees. It was 50%. My admin betrayal was the majority of the reason why I wanted to kill myself. And it was because everything for my entire career that I had been shown and experienced the brotherhood, and I loved being a part of it, was all just aspect. It was Bizarro World. We talked about Bizarro World earlier, and that management needs to be churned in the leadership. We quit taking care of people, and God damn it, people! I can't stream this enough. Take care of the folks you are, that you are in charge of. And we get these messages, and please continue. You can reach me at Mark with a C at rollcallroom.com or Nick at rollcallroom.com. You can email us, through social media messaging. And we hear this often, and it was really humbling that, hey, I listened to this episode and you guys touched on, admin betrayal, man. I'm living through that now. Yeah, you can complain about it. Everybody has a boss. But take care of you, number one. And where we are in, I think, crisis mode right now is we don't have good role models out there. We don't have those Dick Winters. And if you don't know who Dick Winters is, go watch Band of Brothers. Great series. And I think about or reflect on that, and shout out to Jason, who made reference to him on social media the other day. What if today we were faced with that? And think about what the World War II vets went through. These guys were lying about their age just to go fight the enemy. Now we got everyone that sits home in their basement on their little cell phone, and they're like, well, I don't want to do that. And I put a post up on my personal page about, and many other countries do this, and I'm going to get real controversial, is that, the draft ended when I came through, but I wanted to go into the military. My father talked me out of it. And now it's a lifelong regret.
Yeah.
But I think that every able-bodied person should spend some time in the military defending the country. And I said, well, if you want social services later in life, if you don't volunteer your time earlier in life, then why should we be paying you to do nothing? But that's where our country has gotten. We've become the sit on your ass nation. And we need to get up and get involved. Your community is safe because of you. Your community is good because of your tax dollars. And now you need to start the people that's responsible for spending them. That's where you need to start making the noise. And you do have a voice. And you do have something to say.
I think eventually, I mean, you're seeing it in New York City, you're seeing it in Chicago, you're seeing it all over the place, which is that they've placated to the folks that are out of their fucking mind for so long that now you're seeing the effects. You can't walk down the street without getting fucking robbed or murdered. Crime is going through the roof. And a lot of the social media posts that I'm seeing now is we need to hire more cops. We need to hire more cops. Well, it's going to take you probably 5 years to undo what you've done, because you've made the job so unappealing. Cost of living is so astronomical now. Inflation is high. You paying somebody $45,000 a year to put their life on the line. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to make a lethal force decision, we're going to arrest you first, put you on trial,
and then put you in a building full of the people you just arrested.
Correct.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Like, that's not an appealing job for me. It's not an appealing job for any new young person that's, fresh out of college. They got a ton of student loan debt. I mean, depends. I mean, Biden might want to eliminate all the student loan debt, so that might not be the case. But like shit like that, where you're like, I don't know how much more unappealing you can make the job. Like I wouldn't join now. Like, if I was looking for a job right now, law enforcement would be the last fucking thing that I would want to get involved in.
And it's the greatest job in the world.
From the other side. Oh,
it's an awesome job. Yeah.
When it's going great, when you have great leadership, when you can go out and go do your job, when you can actually go fight crime. Yeah. And, the legal way of doing it. There's ways of getting into people's cars and into their pockets, a legitimate, legal, constitutional way. Those of you that are not doing that, you're causing the problem.
Right.
I think law enforcement just at this point has a huge identity crisis that it's not getting any better. Yeah, it's my cat over there meowing away.
Well, I think when they took Live PD off the air, I love watching Live PD. I love watching Cops. Fox Nation still has cops on the air, but it's like, I got to subscribe to Fox Nation. But when he quit taking off those, Blue Bloods, I think is the only current police show that's still on the air now.
Man,
not
it's
that
so
we're
liberal
endorsing
though, man.
Exactly.
Blue Bloods is so super. Like I used to watch that show, and then the producers infected that show like they do every show. Law and Order is the same way. Like my wife and I started to rewatch Law and Order, and I watch it in a different lens now, and I'm like, you can't arrest a pharmaceutical company CEO because somebody overdosed on painkillers. Like it doesn't, the legal system does not work that way. That's a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter, and that's where we're experiencing the Trump hysteria, which is you can't get them through civil means, or you are getting them through civil means in liberal states, which eventually will get turned over. So now you're using the criminal system and you're manipulating the elements of the crime for it to suit your needs.
Right.
And eventually, I mean, we saw it with the Supreme Court overturning Colorado and Maine, taking them off the ballot. The Supreme Court is the ultimate decision maker. And the fact that you had a 9-0 decision for that is a prelude to what's going to happen in the future with him.
Right.
They are the Supreme Court. They are the last and final word. And even the 4 Dems that are on the Supreme Court are pretty much laying it down. What you're doing is detrimental to the country. It seriously is. And I hope for Trump's sake, if he gets elected, I hope he doesn't take the bait if he gets elected and then start going after the other side, like a tit for tat kind of thing.
Right.
There has to be some sort of civility. There has to be somebody that, and I grew up with Trump in New York City. I grew up in New York City, and I know him. I know his family. I know, not personally, I'm just saying I grew up around them. I was
going to say, man, I'm impressed, really.
No, I wish I did, man.
No, I mean, you've been around them more because
I've been around them. I've seen their business dealings. I've seen, Trump in Atlantic City bankrupt. I've seen them build the back. And I mean, I've seen it all with them. And he's just, he's the type of guy that's going to take that bait. He's going to put his DOJ in charge of going after Letitia James and going after Alvin Bragg and wasting taxpayer dollars to go tit for tat. And we don't need that. Like, we need him to come in, or somebody to come in and be like, listen, knock this shit off.
Let's get back to getting these 10 million illegal people out of our country, throw them out of the borders, shut the borders down, reestablish law.
They're not, because they're registered voters now. Like that has always, Elon Musk had a perfect assessment of this whole illegal border crisis thing, which is you bring as many in as you possibly can, register them as voters as quickly as you can, and remind them who got them residency, and they're loyal to that party forever.
Well, I don't understand why the conservative side of things aren't standing there with registrations as they come in. Here you go. And if they were doing that, they would shut the border down tomorrow. The Republican Party is a fucking mess, and they've been that way. And it started during the Clinton administration with mean-spirited and all these cowards. And I think that's the one thing that I liked about Trump initially, when he was like, of course, it's that attitude. It's the fuck you. Yeah, I am mean-spirited. This is what I want to hear, and I think that's what America wants. We're tired of the milquetoast, vanilla, but, you're accusing me of being this way. No, I'm not that way, but just because you don't like what I'm saying, or the keep talking over me. But to bring it all back around, I could just yammer on for this all day, and that's not what I want to do with this show. But, get out there and get involved. Your vote does mean something. And if it isn't going the way you want it to go, and thankfully the pendulum swings back and forth, and I think it's going to be a hard swing back to the right. this next election cycle, because I
I
don't
think
know of
I hope
even my
so.
liberal friends. I don't hear them in support of what's going on right now.
Well,
You need that.
I think a lot of your Biden supporters, I think 20% of Biden supporters are either going to stay home or they're going to vote independent, and that's only going to help Trump, because I think even not loyalists, but I think a lot of the Biden supporters, when the last election happened, I think even they are like, listen, this guy is not going to make 4 years. He can barely fucking hold a sentence.
Well, but he wasn't portrayed as that. He was portrayed. Nobody knew who the hell that. Okay, let me ask you a question. I heard this yesterday.
Yeah.
Who was Bush 41's vice president? Does anybody know?
Quayle? Was it Quayle?
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. One for Nick.
He was a donut. He was a donut too.
Yeah, absolutely. But who the fuck is he? So, okay, so let's fast forward. Who the hell is Barack Obama's vice president?
Joe Biden.
Oh, well, it's Joe Biden. Well, I don't know who the fuck he was. Of course, he was just some crook from Delaware, right? So it wasn't it odd that as soon as Obama comes out, we did not run Joe Biden as president? Everyone, all the vice presidents run.
Yeah.
That's how we ended up with Bush 41 was out of Reagan. Reagan termed out, so we ran him. Why didn't we run Biden the first time around? We ran Hillary. Well, clearly, and then again, I'll get in that rabbit hole. But so clearly the guy doesn't have the salt, but he was portrayed as, oh well, he's going to be he's he's good with foreign relations and he's this good grandpa style, but that's what the people were fed. And where I want to go with this, right? Oh yeah, the guy's a mess, but they kept that hidden. Where I'm appalled at is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He should be the Democratic nominee. Now 100%. He would be the guy that would have a good foothold for the Democratic side. He's a
just
moderate.
His voice kills me.
Well, he's got that condition,
I know, but
he can't help that.
It freaks me out. It's like listening to Lord Vader every speech.
Right.
It just freaks me out.
I wish it was like listening to Lord Vader. I wish it was with the breathing, but he's struggling to speak just because he has that. But do you listen to the guy's comments? Do you listen? Because I'm a fan of his. I wouldn't vote Democrat because I'm a conservative. I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. And Irish. So we're recording this right before St. Patrick's Day, which is a ruined holiday for me. We'll talk about that later. But he should be he's running independent.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats were smart, they would have propped him up. If they're truly about the party. But they're not about the party. They're about their own agenda, and the agenda is to ruin this country as it is. And they've got a pretty good.
Well, then they're going to throw their weight behind Biden because Biden. I mean, he's a puppet. I think he's not even running the country. There's a video that came out yesterday. He wanted to answer questions at some stop that he was at.
Yes,
and his handlers.
Yes, this was just recently.
Yeah, this was yesterday.
I can't answer questions. I'll get in trouble. And he's looking around. Can I?
Can I answer? And then they quickly rushed the press away from him,
and then the bars came out.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to debate Trump. I wouldn't debate Trump, quite honestly. I mean, the guy is just fucking brutal in debates. I don't know, man. I don't know. The November is going to be very, very interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of history being made.
Well, we're in strange times, and I hate to dominate this with a political talk because it's getting away. I think it's getting away from our mission. But there again, I mean, we keep steering on, but coming back to it. But it's important that you get out and vote, and it's important you get out and vote your way, and be sure that people that are in charge of counting the vote are being held accountable. And we'll move on from there. I think it's a good segue to end this.
Well, it's a good way for us to segue out of the episode. It's man, these go by so fast now.
They do. They really do.
I like it. I love it.
I hope everyone's enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. It's therapy for us, which is good. But whatchamacallit? So folks, we're gonna end this episode. If you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at nick@rollcallroom.com, or you can reach Mark at marc@rollcallroom.com. Take good care of each other. And Mark, I'm going to leave it to you to close us out.
Well, thanks as always. Thank you all for listening. Be safe out there. For our friends at NYPD, keep doing what you're doing. I know it's like pushing a car up a hill with a rope, but it will get better. Those shitty commanders do come and go, and hopefully they go quicker than they come. But keep the reason why you're doing the job. Just keep doing that. Control what's in your orbit. For everyone else, Midnight Dogs, hey, good morning. We're recording this when you're just getting off the shift. I wish that we could do a live so we could tell you this directly. But we appreciate you. We appreciate your listening. We know when you're listening because it's always a day after we publish, then the numbers spike. So thank you for listening to us. And for everyone else, mid-watch, day shift, don't act like we don't love you, because we love you guys too. If you need something, reach out. We are a vast resource. What is it, 988 text? Is that what that is, the number?
Yeah.
I don't want to screw that up because I know it's critical. But, if you're feeling bad, get out of the house. Get around people that you love. Practice the 4 Fs. Family, faith, friends, and favorite activities. And be sure to keep non-cop friends in your life.
Big time.
It's a job. It's a great job, but don't let it envelop you. So
Big
take
time.
care of yourself, and thank you.
All right, folks, be safe, and thank you, Spotify, for letting us out of our punishment. And we have learned a lesson. We will never do it again.
Right.
And
whatever community standard that was. So,
yeah, you are the best podcast platform out there. And I will never make fun of Joe Rogan again. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night and enjoy.